Well, it must be
Right now,
afternoon break time because it's
Yep.
gotten noisy in the exhibit hall again. So it must be afternoon
more snacks and coffee.
afternoon snack and caffeine.
Well, we have what 40, half an hour roughly, and we can go do something like that.
Nice.
Getting a little
Or we could
hungry
do that
myself.
now. How portable is this entire set?
Does it roll? Are we on a stage that could roll?
That would be fantastic. I want to go back to Alex. You and I were speaking earlier about, the return to office
Oh yes.
and why it's so far lagging in the Americas compared to Europe and Asia Pacific. And you were making great points about, work-life balance. And I wanted to kind of like just go down a rabbit hole on that one a little bit because it is interesting because I think what you did see before COVID and you still see now is the Americas lag behind in work-life balance, especially the US compared to the rest of the world. So in the US, you get the least amount of vacation time of any Western or modern
Western world,
country.
yeah.
Pick a world. The least amount of sick time, the least amount of free time. And so I'm wondering, to expand on what you were saying, did COVID cause a revolt in a good way where people for the first time in the United States maybe got some work-life balance, like you said, not having US also has the longest commutes of any Western country,
Yeah.
followed by Canada. So maybe people realized, hey, I work all the time and I spend 3 hours commuting. And with COVID, I have for the first time some balance. Like Heidi talked about things that have become unacceptable, have happened for so long, they just become the normal. And it broke that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen American workers dig in against return to office more so than any other country. And it has been the US and Canada, then more so than any other region.
Yeah.
And so I find that interesting. I'm glad you brought that point up that maybe people were saying, hey, the reason they're far behind is because it had the biggest inequity in the work-life balance.
Yeah.
And COVID allowed people to see, expose that inequity.
Yeah. And to take that a little bit further, it's people didn't like all the extra commutes. I will use myself an example before COVID. It was 2 hours for me to get into Toronto, 2 hours to come back every day, 5 days a week. That's 20 hours for a 37.5-hour work week.
Yeah. It's a
Now,
bad return on your time.
completely. But if you wanted that work, you wanted a job, that's what many people in my community had to do.
Yeah.
So now when COVID hit, the pandemic, I could work at home. Suddenly out of that 20 hours, if I have to go to the office maybe only twice, let's say it's only 4 hours now, of travel time altogether instead of 20. Wow, that's much more palatable to me. I can go for a walk at lunch. I can walk my dog. I can look out my office window, whether it be the dining room, the kitchen, or a bedroom. I can look out the window and see trees, instead of like most places. I'm sure you've been to them. Offices are all for the management, and they're on the outside, and everybody's on the inside.
But
So
you
you
get
get the bad lighting
lovely
and
fluorescent
cubicles.
lighting.
Yeah, bad
And
lighting and
cubicles.
cubicles and rubber plants.
What else is there?
And that's it. And why would I want to go back to that? I have no reason to. And from a management side, they don't know anything different. They didn't grow up with any other strategy of working from home was a contingency for a disaster. Otherwise, they have been taught and have been used to. Jane could be a manager for 30 years. She's used to having her staff sit out in front of her office, let's say,
Yeah.
or being able to see. She doesn't know how to manage people remotely. And that's not a shot against Jane at all. It's just something they're not used to. So the easiest thing to do instead of trying to fix that and understand it, is just bring everybody back in and go back to where we were. and people don't want to do it.
And I think it's so cultural too, because I worked for 10 years or so ago in my career, a large global company, and all of our team never even met. So being remote was just embedded in the culture because we had people all over the world. We weren't getting together every day for a meeting. So that company was just accepted that we would be flung all over the place, but that we would get our work done. It was just embedded in the culture.
Yeah, and I think that's where management, leadership need to focus. If the work's still getting done, the deliverables are still being met, then does it matter?
I'd say no, but I'm not a boomer. I think, the other thing we're seeing with a lot of these companies, hopefully Alex doesn't die
I'm losing a lung
during
here.
the broadcast. This is not the kind of incident I wanted today. Hopefully there's an AED on the other side. No, we'll shock Alex. We'll bring him back. But what a lot of companies also, they have a lot of real estate and it's empty. And I don't think some companies want to admit, I know one company in the Tampa Bay area where I live, they spent several $1 million in a brand new facility in 2019. And then everybody worked from home in 20 and 21 and 22. They've brought everyone back to the office, not because cultural, not because of efficiency or productivity or pick a word. I think it's management doesn't want to admit we spent all this money in 2019 for a thing we didn't need.
Yeah.
And now, so the option is if everyone works from home, we got to sell it, maybe, and probably take a loss because of customization. So people don't want to admit they made a mistake or that they spent money on an ego trophy or something that didn't work. And we're seeing a lot of that. You see all these think pieces, quote unquote, right now about, what's going to happen with all the vacancies in Manhattan or in any other large city. But the average worker, they're like, it's not my problem. I don't own that property. Who cares if corporate rents go down?
Yeah. Buy 20 floors in a tower and you get your name on it.
Yeah.
Well, now you only have half of that. So your name kind of shouldn't be there.
Correct.
But I don't know about down here, but in Toronto, some of the towers now are taking the top 10, 20 floors, whatever the case may be, moving everybody down, and they're going to renovate the rest of the towers to condos.
Yeah. So you can live and work in the same building. So you won't work from home, you'll home from work.
Yeah. Wow.
Think about that's a new term we just coined, home from work.
Yeah.
So you can work on the 20th floor and live on the 30th floor and never leave your tube.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd like
well,
that.
I wouldn't buy a converted. Like I am I love creative solutions for affordable housing, for a housing density. But personally, I would not want to live in the same building I worked.
No.
So
neither
it's
would
a little dystopian.
Maybe in the tower next door and just kind of wave to all my colleagues in the office.
There's work, Alex.
Yeah, I'm at home working. Yeah, work from home is interesting because I know so many people who are doing it these days and they don't want to leave it. They don't want to change it. And I think we had the conversation before where I mentioned one of my neighbors that he said there was no way he was going back in the office because he had young kids and he's actually getting to spend time with them now, watching them grow up. He's there for dinner. He's there for breakfast. And he does not want to go back to the office. And he's basically said to his bosses, I'm not doing it. You're making me choose between you and my kids and, and guess who's going to win?
Yeah. Yeah. And you certainly, I think you see that with people more later in their career, right, who have the standing and the political chops to say that. But I think people do also have to recognize, looking at the culture of your organization, if everyone's in the office and you're a brand new employee and you're the only remote employee, it's going to be very difficult for you to get promoted because you're the one of the few instead of the one of the many. So I think people should, and I'm not saying that the whole company should change, But I think people should look at based on what's important in your life and what is your company? Does that align? Like if you want to be in the office, as an example, and everyone's remote, you're not going to thrive in that organization. I think that's where people now they need to make those decisions. We're used to asking interview questions around compensation and benefits and mobility, and you're giving back to the community. But I think another question now needs to be, are you guys a remote shop? Are you a work from home? Are you a hybrid? What's your term? What do you do? And how do I feel about that as an applicant and as a potential employee?
See, the piece about, not potentially not being promoted if you're the lone remote worker, to me, that kind of says that your manager doesn't know how to manage you properly. It's
Correct.
because they are going for either a cigarette or a coffee or whatever with people they can see, as an example. So they're not communicating the right way with you if you're at home.
Yeah. I've just seen though, if that manager's whole team is remote, then the opportunities for promotion and advancement are equal. But if I have 9 people in the office that I bump into all the time and one who's remote, I can tell you the one least likely to get promoted. And that is a bad management. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But just studies have shown, like, people who, prior to 2019, your odds of getting promoted if you worked at a corporate headquarters versus a satellite office were higher.
Yeah.
Because I see the executive sees James every single day. I think it's the same thing now, where if you want to be a remote worker, and I'm all for that, and I am one and have been one, and you want to advance in a traditional organization, your best bet is to find an organization where everyone's remote, because then you're on the same playing field.
Yeah. One of the other challenges too is a lot of people that were new to our workforce that were hired were all remote.
Yep.
So they don't know what it's like to go back to an office. So why do they want to? I don't want to go back to an office. I don't want to go to the office. I came out of school or, this new job, this new industry, and I've been remote for 3 years. I don't want to go into an office. And then they don't thrive in it.
And we've also seen some very poor return to work strategies. So I'm thinking of one company, they mandated sometime this year, everyone has to be in the office 2 days a week, which sounds great from a flexibility standpoint. But since they're not the same days, I come in on Monday and I still talk to Alex on Zoom because Alex comes in on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Then there's no point if you want to foster community and collaboration, but now I'm at my desk on Zoom instead of at my house. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So companies need to have more thoughtful policies for that. I saw one of the best ones I've ever seen, where the team, like, we all come in every Tuesday. So we're all there together. And then the department all comes in 3 days a month. And then the business unit all comes in 3 days a quarter. So what I liked about that, it was a thoughtful strategy of, we're bringing people back together, not for the sake of real estate or not for the sake of butts and seats. We do find, okay, we're going to collaborate together 5% of the time, 2% of the time. I love that strategy. I would be all in favor of that strategy as a remote worker, because you're bringing me back not just because you can or because you don't know how to lead or manage. There's thought behind these strategies. And I think a lot of companies are still struggling with just saying everyone remote is just as bad as everyone in person if there's no thought behind, what does our business do? What does our business need?
Yeah.
What do our clients need? What do our employees need? It's just saying by fiat, yes, no, in, out. It's a poor strategy.
Yeah. It's like any policy that gets implemented, if people don't understand it, or the reasoning behind it, they're not going to support it. So you're going to get nothing but pushback. And I'm hearing those bells again.
For whom the bell tolls, Alex, they toll for me. There is an employee of the hotel walking around with, I don't even know how to describe, a mini xylophone.
Mini xylophone, yeah.
Letting people know that it's 3:35. I don't know what that means.
the next sessions, I guess, start soon.
at 3:35.
1:45 or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Will Alex's voice make it the next 15 minutes?
Yes,
we
it
take
should.
bets on that.
Hopefully it should. I've been yakking away since when I came down here at 8 a.m. this morning. So I've
Yes,
been yakking away since then. So I'm slowly losing it now.
in more ways than one.
Yeah. Yeah, not just my voice. Yes.
So let's take a look, Alex. Let's take a little peek ahead for the next 2 minutes on what we have tomorrow.
Yes.
Day 2 of our broadcast. We will have unexpected incidents. We will have shenanigans. We've got some great sponsors: Speak and Spark, Illuminate Advisory, Stone Road, a new partner, new friend of the broadcast, Flexential,
Yes.
which I'm very excited about. Another partner of ours who we've worked with remotely, ResCube. Never met any of them in person.
And they're only
Which
2 booths down.
They are 2 booths
Yeah.
down. I haven't said hi yet. And we've got a great selection of guests: Carrie Jasker, Brian Zawada, Allison Tarnopol, Michelle Turner, Frank Lacoma, Shane Matthew, Andrew Lawton. Quite a few guests, trying to get a few more. So it should be a good day.
I think so. We got lots, we barely scratched the surface of our topic lists here.
That's good. I'm going to
So-
add some more topics.
Look at the news, see what happened today. See what 20,002 seemed to be our incidents. So we'll see what 20,000 happened.
Since we've been
ours.
talking about
Yes.
remote work and work from home and work strategy, I've got another topic for you. They're still ringing the bells, so hopefully that doesn't mean the end of our time here on Earth. Scotland announced last week that they're going to run a pilot program for Scottish civil servants in one bureau, 12-month pilot program, 4-day work week.
Ooh.
And so I looked up, thoughts on the 5-day work week. According to Wikipedia, which is never wrong, by the way, it is the source of truth. The first 5-day work week was set in a New England cotton mill in 1908.
Wow.
So we have been working on the 115 years, and then obviously popularized by Henry Ford, and the Ford Motor Company went to a 5-day work week and living wages. But for the most part, our work week has been set for the last 115 years.
Wow.
So thoughts on, in this day and age when we're always on and we work globally, what are your thoughts on a 4-day work week versus 5-day work week versus six day versus 37 hours? What do you think is an effective way for people to collaborate as employees going forward?
Well, I've seen some of the findings that have come out of places like Denmark and Norway and a couple of other countries that have really taken a serious look at the 4-day work week, and other organizations. Most of them are in that area of the world. I know there are others, but those ones have been the dominant area. And they're finding that productivity is going up with a 4-day work week. Focus and people getting engaged with things are going up. They feel more refreshed when they come back after having 3 days off. It's like going on vacation. You only start to relax after the fourth 5 days, and then all of a sudden you realize I go 2 more days and I have to go back to the office, and you really don't relax.
Yeah.
So they're finding with these 4-day weeks that people are coming back after 3 days off better relaxed, because it's a consistent basis, more relaxed. Their productivity is going up, their spirits are up. So I don't see a downside to it yet. It's going to, if it gets bigger, it gets adopted by many more organizations or nations or whatever the case may be, it's going to be a challenge, and it will pose challenges for people, because 4 days on, at your organization may be different than 4 days on at mine. You are in a 24/7, 365 world. So there's going to be challenges that will need to be addressed there as well. But we've already talked about that here today, where you've got people working for you around the globe in different time zones, and you just adapt and develop the right strategies and policies to go with it. So it's going to be a big learning curve. But myself, if it makes people feel better, more productive, companies are doing better, showing better, the wellness of people is being addressed, like mental health issues, which is a big concern now, then let's keep experimenting and let's keep trying.
Yeah, one of our guests mentioned earlier today talking about shift work. And I think that's a great strategy because, like you said, we are on and we are always on now. Yeah. So you don't leave work at 5 and then find out about work the next morning at 9.
Right.
We have these.
Yep.
It is 24/7, 365. So I think the expectation with our cultures right now for an organization to close down is unrealistic. But to your point, a 4-day work week shift, I work Monday through Thursday, you work Tuesday to Friday. So you have overlap, you have coverage, just like you do in a hospital, just like you do in retail. We all don't work at the same time, but there's coverage. I would love to see some organizations be more innovative, like the Scottish government is doing a pilot program, or a large organization. Look at the largest vendors we have and sponsors and partners here. Why, as long as there's coverage for customers.
Yeah.
And we've got core overlap for our collaboration. Why does it matter if I'm off Monday and you're off Friday?
Right.
I would love to see that kind of ingenuity so we're not telling our customers we're closed on Friday, because people freak out now if you don't respond to an email in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But if we have an organization, why does James have to respond? And I think we do see that with first responders, with customer service, because they are designed like, you don't, as a firefighter, you don't work every day. Right. If you work in a hospital, you don't work every day. If you're a bartender, you don't work every day, every shift. You come in, you come out, but the bar is always open, especially the bar here at the conference. I don't know if you're at an attendee of our conference. The lobby bar is the most hopping packed. There's always people there. It's amazing. It's like a 24/7 party. It seems to be. Maybe we should broadcast from the bar tonight. I wouldn't even be able to hear anything. But no, but I like I'm curious about how their 4-day work week works. And I think it's that kind of ingenuity. So how do we attract and retain top talent? It's that flexibility.
Yeah. And some places, let's face it, Saturday, if Middle East, Sunday is a work day.
Correct.
So even the weekends, as we would think of them as weekends, they're different now.
Yes.
It's not just Saturday and Sunday. We have Sunday shopping now. So lots of places are open. Lots of people are working. And Saturdays, well, it's always been that way. And more and more, if you go to a 4-day work week, and you explained it well, 4 days on here, we overlap, and we just keep going that way. And as long as there's coverage, things are happening. Things will keep getting addressed. Customers will be serviced. Products will be made. And crises will always occur. So, you can't shut those off on a weekend. So, I think organizations taking a look at a 4-day work week, if they implement it right and can take all the considerations that we've brought up, then I think it could really benefit them.
All right, I'm going to get on my old man soapbox. I do miss, so here's my kids, you always are like, oh, Dad, tell me about how old you are. They love teasing you. And so one of the stories I always tell them that they don't believe is I'm so old that, right? So I'm so old that I remember on Friday afternoons, my mom and I would go to the bank and she would get some cash for Saturday shopping because there were no ATMs, there were no debit cards, there were no credit cards. You couldn't pay by mobile, and everything was closed on Sunday.
Yep.
And all of that blows my kids' minds. One thing I do like about the simpler times of the early 1980s in the Midwest United States, I like that everything was closed on Sundays because I think, having worked in retail, having worked in the service industry, just like you have, it forced people to have downtime. It wasn't about that it was Sunday or the Sabbath. This isn't a religious story. This is about forced downtime. And as we've gone to everything's now open 24/7, like you said, and we've had this recurring theme today, is anyone ever getting any downtime?
Yeah.
And I wish, like, maybe do we need to go back to things are closed? Like, you can survive without your Starbucks for one. Well, maybe people can't survive without Starbucks for one day now, given the Starbucks here at the hospital and the hotels. It feels like it's the bells ringing in my head still. No, but what I liked about things being closed is that you're building in a break for your mind. So
I remember some of the same things with my mom. I remember the days where you could go to the bank, but it had all the banks closed at 4.
That's right.
So you had to leave work if you were working, to go to the bank. And Sundays, I grew up English, and Sundays was always go to Nan's for roast dinner. That was Sunday. You don't hear much of that these days, but that for me growing up, that's what it was. Yeah. That's what Sundays was family day. And not religious again, but family day. Everyone goes to Nan's. She makes a nice big roast dinner, and that was it.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes left. So we've taken all these theories of ours. So what are we going to do? What are our policies going to be with Speak and Spark?
We can't even figure out who's Speak and who's Spark.
So when it comes to our business, we're open 24/7, 365. There's no holidays there ever.
We'll come up with something. I'm sure we will. We have to put into practice what we're saying.
So. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I start to think about that with our different projects. Like, do we have boundaries between work and personal?
Well, weekend seems to be for us.
Yes.
You mentioned it earlier. I go up to the cottage, and I let when I head up to the cottage, I don't like looking at emails. I don't like doing anything, like that. It's go swimming, kayaking, hiking, relax by the fire if it's pouring or even if it's a snowstorm. Playing games, manual games, not video games, manual games. So,
I think we do try to keep, like, when it comes to the broadcast and some other things we do try to keep some good boundaries with weekends. That was interesting with the Speak and Spark acquisition. There were some things we had to do over weekends. And I think that was just kind of different, not in a bad way. I work weekends for Illuminate Advisory, but not often for our joint projects. But we had some time sensitive things that required lawyers and all kinds of fun stuff that, you have to do this on a Sunday morning. But yeah, practice what we preach and put that into practice.
So who's writing the contingency plan?
You and I are each other's contingency plan. And then for Speak and Spark, we have Lynette. And after that, then it's my cat and your dog, I think, is they inherit.
Well, that didn't last long. We're already going to cats and dogs.
Well, Alex, we have reached the bottom of the hour. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this hour, Illuminate Advisory. They are the risk advisory firm inspiring organizations to harness the power of risk. Thank you, Illuminate. Thank you to Alex and Voice America. We have reached the end of hour 5.
We made it through.
We did. I'm going to go eat and not talk for the next 12 hours.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. And Thanks to Andrew and Aaron over here for their help. You can't see them. You may have seen the odd shoulder or the odd person behind us.
We're gonna
That's
have to ask when
one
we
of
went
the-
off the
yeah.
air. One of them in their box of microphone and stash, I noticed like 12 bags of Cheetos.
I did see
So
that.
I've been curious to see if that's all that you ate. I'm calling you out live.
Yeah,
I
who's-
want to
who's
know.
the chip monster over there. Oh,
Okay,
both of them.
so we're
Okay.
gonna find out. We'll let you guys know in the morning if that's all they ate all day today. We'll report back.
Okay. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Thanks, James, for co-hosting. Thanks, Voice America, and all our guests and sponsors for today. We really appreciate you joining us and making this a success. Until tomorrow, stay prepared, everybody.
If you like that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.